What do you feel, from your experience now with XR,
Mhm, mhm.
that is truly failing in education, and what needs to be done for other schools to adapt this type of technology?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as with all other technologies and industries, I think it's becoming more personalized, right? And so trying to teach one way and expect all learners to absorb or, acquire the knowledge because of that one methodology doesn't work for everybody, right? And so the more we can get to using big data and using different emerging technologies to provide an individualized learning experience and methods that will help you in your educational journey, your lifelong journey, I think is where we need to get to. And there's a lot of exciting work happening in the ed tech space. There's a lot of work happening here in our Center for Academic Innovation.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining another episode of The Disruptive Front. Today, I have a very special guest. He is the director of the XR initiative at the University of Michigan, Jeremy Nelson. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Scott. I'm excited to talk today.
I am super excited to talk to you. I've seen a lot of what you've been doing at the University of Michigan, and obviously, anybody that follows me, which probably like two people, basically, I've posted a lot about you. I've commented on you. I
Mhm.
just think what you're doing is special, and I wanted to jump right in so a lot of people understand what is the XR initiative. Can you explain that in short, simple terms so that someone we can have a good conversation and someone can
Sure.
understand?
Yeah. So this is a university-led initiative at the University of Michigan to bring extended reality technologies. So when I say extended reality, I'm talking about kind of the umbrella phrase of augmented, virtual, mixed reality technologies. So kind of all of those technologies together, bringing those to all 19 schools and colleges in the Ann Arbor campus, bringing them to our online learners. We're approaching 9 million global online learners taking a University of Michigan produced course, and then creating innovative public-private partnerships.
Now, you just had a really big event a couple months back.
Mhm.
What was that event about?
Yeah, this was our XR Summit. And so one of the things we wanted to do early on, so we started a few months before the pandemic, so that changed a few things. So we didn't do the event last year, but this was really an event to kind of bring together a larger community at the university, to expose them to XR, to share a lot of the work happening across campus, to work with our industry partners that kind of showcase some of their work, and really just try to educate folks about what's possible, because many people still think it's VR and AR is just about games, and there's a lot more than that.
Well, I think it's kind of good from the consumer and I say the end user side, the
Mhm.
game side. And I think that's what I would like to jump into a little bit is,
Yeah.
me. We've talked for a while about how I believe education is truly failing students from a general basis. Not each school. There's schools like yours that are taking the initiative and what I believe is taking the risk like a big corporation would,
Yep.
and seeing what innovation is, right? Innovation is not following 10 other people. It's taking the big risk. So when
Sure.
it comes to the consumer side, I believe education needs to follow where the consumers are, follow that same vehicle.
Yep.
Consumers are playing games, they
Mhm.
are on the internet, they are on TikTok and Instagram and
Yep.
Facebook and
Yep.
LinkedIn, and and if I said MySpace, you would probably close this call right now. But the
I
big
remember
thing,
MySpace.
yeah. So the big thing for me is, we see the conversation, or we hear the conversations constantly at conferences, XYZ. We need to change how we teach. We need to change how we teach. And the constant thing I hear is, we need to change how we recruit. That's not the answer. You
Hmm.
got to be able to consider the consumer and who that is. I believe education as a whole needs a makeover. And
Yep.
I believe what you're doing there is truly helping students grow. And I wanted to ask you, what do you feel, from your experience now with XR,
Hmm. Hmm.
that is truly failing in education, and what needs to be done for other schools to adapt this type of technology?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as with all other technologies and industries, I think it's becoming more personalized, right? And so trying to teach one way and expect all learners to absorb or, acquire the knowledge because of that one methodology doesn't work for everybody, right? And so the more we can get to using big data and using different emerging technologies to provide an individualized learning experience and methods that will kind of help you in your educational journey, your lifelong journey, I think is where we need to get to. And there's a lot of exciting work happening in the ed tech space. There's a lot of work happening here in our Center for Academic Innovation of pushing that boundary and pushing those technologies. And I think that's probably where a lot of it's failed, right? One size fits all, or kind of one or two sizes fit all, and it doesn't.
Well, I think there's a section of educators that also believe that this is just going to pass. We're going to get back to the norm, and whatever that may look like, right? But I don't think that's true, and for many reasons. I think again, the consumer in some ways liked the maybe more hybrid aspect, like don't bring me in if I don't need to be there type of thing.
Sure, sure.
But I do think that this is not just a trial and error. I think this is going to be something moving forward. People are able to access more, connect more. So I think that's a beautiful thing. So, moving forward, I do want to jump into something that's true and near and dear to what I have dealt with. I'm sure others have dealt with is that job when you go to apply to it and they say on the application you need XYZ years of experience. From my understanding, you're able to, and you can explain this better than I can, but you're able to have students literally sit in a place or engage in a society
Yep.
without actually having to be there. And I think when I had a call or a talk recently with Kathy Hackle with
Great.
Metaverse and so
Yeah,
on,
she's
and
great.
awesome stuff. But for me, it's like being able to make the mistakes, put your hand on the stove without actually burning your finger.
Yes.
And I think that's the experience. And so how do you see that changing the production and job force? Do you see that students will be able to walk out of University of Michigan and others that follow your innovation and be able to walk right into a job that previously was deemed you needed X years of experience for?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't know if it'll completely eliminate, somebody coming straight out of undergrad into a 5-year experience position, but there's a lot of really interesting work in VR around kind of hard skills and soft skill development. So practicing really dangerous or difficult situations and over, right? And making those mistakes and kind of getting that feedback. We hear a lot from the industry that, students some of these soft skills and practicing handling difficult situations, having difficult conversations, having conversations versus doing it over some other email or text or some other method. I think those are real opportunities for growth, and we're exploring that a lot right now. We just funded 11 projects where we're starting with 360 video to have people practice having difficult conversations about race, ethnicity, and gender with our School of Social Work, about giving and receiving feedback with the law students, about foreign language studies, and so kind of understanding social situations here in the U.S. if someone's coming from another country. And so there's really a lot of opportunity to kind of practice that and kind of scaffold up to full interaction. And I think those are the types of experiences where you just haven't been exposed to them as a student. And so if you can be exposed to them in a virtual environment or practice a number of times and kind of get that real-time feedback, I think people will be much better prepared to live in this kind of complex, adaptive world that we live in today.
Well, and we constantly hear people talking about Amazon as like the
Mm-hmm.
threshold, and years back, everybody was kind of like brushing it off. But I always saw Amazon as kind of leading the way in customer service. You have an order, when it's coming, you see the truck. It's better than pizza delivery. And
Sure.
the idea is, if you have a problem, you can actually speak to somebody, and you can speak to somebody quickly,
Sure.
and it's just consumer driven.
Yeah.
And I think the more we look at businesses, every business, even I'll give you my example in pharmacy,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to see a world where there's technology counting pills, right? We're going to see and that's already happening, but
Oh, yeah.
on a general level, we're going
Yep.
to see a world where pharmacists are moving more into the education clinical side
Yep.
and not back there kind of on the phone or whatever the case may be in your retail community pharmacy. It's more about that education that may not be the time now. Now policy needs to change, and we don't have to talk about that because I don't want to get upset. But the idea for me is technology is going to advance. How do we work with it? And I
Yep.
think the biggest thing is teaching those soft skills, teaching the personal professional development.
Yep.
And that's what I really honed in education myself. But truly, I appreciate that.